Welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome to Kitchen Table Creativity. I'm Donna Leffler, and my goal is to help you just sit down at your kitchen table with your watercolor paints and a couple simple brushes and create something that's fun, whimsical, beautiful, and meaningful to you. And my goal is to have very simple projects that you can complete in one short session, and things that are not super difficult as far as technique with watercolor. So today I have this really fun project, a pair of colorful rainbow flip-flops and some whimsical flowers around them, and it's just so colorful and so full of life. You know, it's almost summertime here in the US, and I am just excited to throw on my flip-flops. So that's the theme for today, is just the simplicity of summer, where you don't have to have heavy coats or even a sweater. You just throw on your shorts, your flip-flops, and you're ready to go. So I hope you have fun with this project today. I am going to just quickly run through the supply list. Everything is in the description of this video. Also, I keep it very simple, pretty much use the same type of supplies each week, at least for the time being. First of all, it's good to have a scrap piece of watercolor paper. I always forget to even mention this, but a scrap piece, so that when you're testing your colors or blending them, to make sure that it's the right consistency, so you can just have that. Off to the side, you can have a piece of paper towel, which is also really important, or a rag of some sort, so that you can blot the water off your brush and the extra paint off your brush. I think this is actually a really necessary thing as far as watercolor goes, because you have to be able to control the water. The paints I'm using are the same Japanese set of paints I've been using the last few weeks, and the description again. And I got them on Amazon. They're really amazing colors, very pigmented. I feel like they're somewhat professional quality, and they aren't super expensive, and they're made in Japan. So I have some really basic colors here. I have a red, a yellow, a green, a blue, and then this is actually a very dark purple, but when I mix it with water, it looks much lighter. Okay, I'm using my sketchbook that's spiral bound. I love this book. I have another link in the description, and I got it off Amazon. I feel like the paper is good quality, and it's not that expensive again. I have my ceramic mixing palette, which I love ceramic. My two brushes I've been using the last few weeks also. I got these relatively recently. Number 4, number 2, they're just small round brushes because I keep my projects pretty small. And by all means, you can create yours any size that you would like. I'm going to use a couple of permanent markers to add details. These are permanent micron pens, and they're black. And then I have a pencil in case I want to draw in a little bit more outlines, and I have a stylus because I'm going to use the stylus to trace this. And this is something I just learned how to do, is to take these images and create this traceable image. So you can also see this in the description. You can print it out, you can cut it down to whatever size, or create whatever size you want. Take a piece of graphite paper, put the black side down, and then just use a stylus or a pen or anything to trace these basic outlines. If you don't want this much, I'm starting to lean towards more of a folk art kind of style for my artistic style. If you don't like the busyness of everything that's in here, you can just leave parts off, which is fine too. Create what works for you. Maybe you don't want rainbow. Maybe you want the flip-flops to be one color. That would be totally fine too. You know, whatever speaks to your heart. And so, yeah, the graphite paper, you want to get waxless if you are going to do this, because then you can erase the lines if you want to or need to. I have a spray bottle, which I've already sprayed my paints. It's good to spray them, just plain clear water, and that kind of prepares the paints to be used. And then I have 3 jars of water off to the side here. I use 3 jars. The first jar I use when my brush is really full of paint, I'm switching colors, to rinse. The second jar, rinse again to get more of the color out. And then the third jar stays pretty clean. By the time you rinse it in the third jar, your brush has released all of the other color. So I don't like to be able to have to get up and down and get water, so I have a lot of extra water here. All right, so I am going to trace this image now, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here you can see I have my image traced, and I have added a lot of detail that was in the image. You don't have to do that. I did not add like the grass that was at the bottom. You can add a lot of this detail in either with a fine tip black pen after we're done, or you can just hand paint it with your brush, because the little tiny details are sometimes easier to do without having them penciled in. But if you want to pencil everything in, that's totally fine too. You also don't have to put like all the leaves on the flowers. You know, you can hand paint those in pretty easily without drawing them. But I like to show that tracing is fine to do, because it just is much easier to start with a foundation like this that's already centered. You can hand draw it if you want to. I just find it a lot faster and easier to trace, and there's really nothing wrong at all with tracing. So I'm going to start with my smaller brush. I think I might just stay with this brush the whole time. I'll see how it goes. This is number 2, and these are those brushes that I got that are made in Spain. They are really nice, and I really enjoy using them. So it's good to start with the lightest colors. Today I was a little bit torn between whether to start with yellow or not, because the yellow stripe on these is right here. And sometimes when I do stripes like this, I like them to kind of blend a little bit together, so I might start at the top. But the top is red, and so I didn't really want to start with the red. So you could try different things too. You know, it's always good to experiment, try something different, maybe something that you haven't done before. So this is a really nice bright yellow. It's a lemon yellow, right, really bright and cheerful. So I'm going to use it pretty much full strength, and I'm going to start with the little sun here. And I might go back and add, like mix a little bit of more orangey yellow and add that to this. I'll see how it looks when I'm more further along. And I'm going to add the rays in yellow also. These small brushes are just so great to be able to paint really small detail. And, you know, when you're painting something like this little flower, like what I'm doing right now, it's good to hold your brush up right more like this, so that the tip just touches the paper. And I probably add a few details. And I'm not really going to add a whole lot of yellow to the flowers. And then the stripe, like I said, is right here, so I'm just going to paint that in. And I might just keep these stripes so that they don't blend together. Because I kind of like that defined look and style. And the thing about this too is that we are going to use the black pen when we're finished with the painting and it's completely dry, to use the black fine tip pen to add definition. It's called watercolor sketching, and it almost looks like when you do this technique that you sketched it with pen and ink and then just added the color after, which some people actually do. Okay, so I like the way that looks, and I think I'm going to go ahead and take this red now too. I'm going to spray it. This is also a very true red. It's a scarlet red. Rinsing my brush really well. And I'm going to take a little bit of this. And it is a little bit more on like the coral side of red. It's not a true red. I'm going to take a little of that and mix it into this yellow to make an orange, more of an orange. And this is the time when it's good when you're mixing to kind of test it. And I think I want a little more red. And that is more of an orange. So the next stripe is that orange color, so I'm going to add that. The inspiration for this project today came because we finally had a couple of days warm enough here in Idaho where I was able to wear my flip-flops. And I just think every year it's so fun when you can finally just throw on a pair of flip-flops. So easy, comfortable, maybe not very dressy looking, but I am a pretty casual person. So I don't get super dressed up very often, only for special occasions. So with these colors that we're using, there's just so many different ways that you can mix them, because they're not really primary colors, but close. And I'm just going to add in a few little colors of orange here and there. And I'm also going to put just a tad in this flower. Leave it mostly that. And then I think I am going to go back to the sun and maybe just add a touch. I'm going to water that down quite a bit and just add a touch of orange to the sun. It's a little bit warmer looking. So I kind of have a combination of the yellow and the orange. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse my brush again really well, and I am going to grab more of this coral red because I want it to be just that pure color. It's pretty vivid. It's a beautiful color. I love that color. Add a little more water to it to make it so it's not quite as intense. This is actually one of my favorite colors. I love this coral red. It's a warm red. It has more yellow in it. The cool reds have more blue in them. So if you have a true red and you want to make it a deeper, maybe like even a burgundy, you're going to add blue. And if you want it to be more of a sunny kind of coral, you're going to add more yellow. And you just want to add really a touch of yellow so it doesn't turn orange. All right, then I'm gonna take that same color. I'm gonna water it down quite a bit. And I'm gonna paint one of the flowers just a little bit lighter. So you know, with watercolors, that's what's so great, is that you can get so many different colors just from adding water. You don't, like, I don't have to add white to this. I'm just watering it down, lifting more of the pigment off, and it creates a different color, which is really cool. Now, as I'm reaching over here, I'm blotting my brush of water. Sometimes I hold the paper towel in my hand, sometimes I don't. Now, I really kind of enjoy this fine detail work, but if you don't like painting this small and you want to increase the size to like a 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11, you could do that. You can increase the size of that tracing image that I have in the description, and you could make it bigger so it's a little bit easier to paint maybe. But like I said, I like the small projects because, for one thing, I can just keep going in this sketchbook that I have, this journal book, and just page by page keep using it. It's all the same size. And they're also just quick and easy to complete so that I don't have them like sitting out forever. They also make, it's a good size to make cards, like if you want to give this to someone. So yes, the inspiration for this week's Creative Heart Journal, that's the journal publication. I create it every week and I email it out to anyone who wants it. It's totally free. And I have a blog that I link to that I write a little story about the inspiration of why I painted this week. I have a PDF version. It's actually like a little digital flip book magazine. So it's really cool. It's really fun. It's only 5 pages long, so it's easy to look through. I send it on Fridays at noon. So depending on the time zone you're in, you might get it a little bit different time, but my idea was that I would send this on Friday at noon, and just something that maybe you could spend some time over your weekend looking at it. Maybe you have time on Friday night, I don't know. But it would be something to kind of start your weekend on a fun, whimsical, creative note, and something that maybe would inspire you to actually sit down and paint. I get really inspired when I look at other people's work and tutorials. Really fun stuff. So if you would like to receive that, all you have to do is go into the description. There's a link, sign up, and you'll start to get it every week. And I also link to this YouTube video, so you don't have to go looking for it on YouTube. You can just click the link and it goes straight to this entire YouTube video. And I would love for you to paint along with me, and even more, I would love if you would send me your work and show me what it looks like, because I'm always inspired by what other people create, and especially when they use their own creative ability to change it up, make it a little bit different. That's cool. But you don't have to do that. You can just completely copy what I'm doing, and that is totally fine. You can use these images however you want. I don't try to like copyright my work. I would love it if you would, of course, say where you got it from, that you got it from my tutorial. You don't have to. I feel like I'm not going to try to make it so people can't use my art. I want them to share it. I want them to post it online. I want them to talk about it. And, I'll just keep creating more art. I don't worry that it's going to get stolen or that somebody's going to copy it. I would be fine however people want to use it. All right, so we have a nice amount of red here. So the eye is naturally going to go to the reds because they're bright. It's just the way that our body and our minds work. We see red, and so you can see it's kind of evenly balanced throughout this composition, which I really like. All right, so the next color we're going to move to is green, but we're going to take the green and we're going to do a little mixing on this too. This is really a green, bright green. So one of the stripes will be this bright green, but I wanted to make more of like a yellowish green. So I'm going to rinse my brush really well. Make sure that after you use the red, you rinse your brush really well. You don't want red to carry over. I'm going to just grab some of this really bright yellow. Now, whenever you're mixing these kind of colors, you want to take the lightest color and put mostly the lightest color. And this is like 100% yellow right now. Then I'm going to rinse my brush and I'm going to take just a little bit of this green and mix it in. And that's probably like 10%. See, so it's still quite yellow. I want a little more green, so I'm going to grab a little more green and just mix it slowly like that until you get the look and the color that you want. This might work. We're going to test it. I like that. So I'm going to use this for the next stripe. Actually, I think it needs a little more green now that I'm painting it. Looks almost yellow like the other yellow. Which is why it's good to test. And I found watercolor is pretty forgiving. Like, when I started painting this, it was not the right green, and so I just mixed the right green and added it over, and it totally works. You can fix mistakes pretty easily. And sometimes the mistakes end up not a mistake, but something that actually looks better than what you thought originally. So you should always have an open mind when it comes to art in general. That's the creative process. A lot of things have been discovered because people made a mistake or did something that they weren't supposed to do, and then they went, oh my gosh, that totally worked better than what I thought. All right, and then the next green that I'm going to use, the next stripe, I'm going to use this full strength green, the way it is right out of the pan. Quite a bit darker. I really love this project. It's super fun. It's beautiful colors. And I'm actually working on something I'm really excited about right now. And like I said at the beginning, I am working on my artistic style, and I'm leaning more towards this whimsical kind of folk art, but it's not really true folk art because folk art is quite busy, has a lot of, you know, it almost looks like cluttered to me. Like what I have here, you know, they would add like all kinds of extra flowers and stuff to the background and probably flowers to the flip-flops and just like really add a lot. And it just looks like too much to me for my taste or my style. Some people love it. And it's not wrong by any means to do it that way. It just depends on what you like. But I'm really excited because I'm going to develop my own color palette too. And I'm working on that right now. And so I'm going to show you how to create a color palette that is really yours if you want to do that. And I think everybody should work on developing an artistic style. All right, so now I am going to work on the stems and the leaves. So I'm just going to stay with this really dark green and just a very light touch for the stems. Just pulling it down. Now when you're doing this, it's good to rest your hand on something and just move your fingers. And that way you could get a little bit straighter line, but again, like this, these are flowers, and flowers in nature are not going to be perfectly straight. Like this stem, I purposely am making these a little curved because I don't want them to look like they're machine made. I want them to look hand done. Some of these flowers I'm going to be going back and adding some other colors, so that's why they're not done yet. But I want to just finish the green while I have it on my brush. And just painting the leaves in. Now I might go back and add some more definition to these leaves. I don't know. Let's see. Once I like to just keep working, moving forward on the painting, and then when it's nearing completion, I take a step back and say, okay, what else does it need? Does it need anything else? And that's when I might add more layers of color or black pen. All right, and then I'm actually going to paint this hillside, and I want that to actually be more of this lighter green. I'm going to water it way down. I want this to be more of like a wash, not dark color. So I probably could have switched to the bigger brush, but this is working too. And when I do this kind of work on the ground, I just kind of leave a little white space. I don't want to get too close to the heart with the water. I don't want it to run. And then I like take some water and just blend it out so that it's a little bit more transparent at the bottom. And I like to add a little bit darker line, like when there's something that might make a little shadow. And it's good to leave like a little texture just because it is the ground and you don't want it to be maybe like perfectly uniform. All right, now we can move on to the blues. Okay, so the next color, I'm going to spray this blue and I'm going to just move onto the blue, but what I'm going to want to do here is create more of like a turquoise blue. So I'm going to grab some of the dark blue. This is another beautiful, beautiful color. It's cerulean blue. And again, the green is a little bit lighter, so I'm just going to add a touch of blue to the green I already have here. Well, actually, I'm going to take a little more of this green. So the green is a little bit lighter than the blue color, so I'm going to add the blue into the green. See if I can get a turquoise. And I probably need a little more blue. Okay, let's test that. And that is a pretty color. I like that. And I'm going to make it a hair more blue. But what I'm going to do is water this down, and I'm going to make it a lighter turquoise. And that's going to be my next stripe. On these small paintings too, it's really amazing how long your paint will last. It's just small, tiny amount. You can finish so many paintings, so your paint will last forever. But I'm always wanting to test out different ones, and so I do buy quite a bit of paints, more than I probably would ever use in a lifetime. But if I find I have extras, I can always donate them, which I like to do sometimes. Okay, so now I think I'm going to take this color and paint this little flower over here. This blue. Okay, I think the rest of the flowers I have, I'm going to save for the purple. Okay, and then just going to even this out a little bit. I'm adding a little bit of darker here, just for interest. All right, so now I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to go to this true blue. Oh, I love this color. It's so bright and beautiful. Probably water it down a little bit because it's very bright. See how that looks. And you know, the more water you add, the more pastel-y it will look. So if the bright colors are not your thing, you can always create pastels just by watering these colors down. Sometimes I do. But I think the bright colors they make me happy. So this new palette that I'm working on is just gorgeous. I'm so excited about it. I ordered all the paints. And I'm going to create a video showing how I take tube paints and I create pans out of them. And I'm going to have like my own signature color palette. And it's going to be specifically for this type of folk art. Really excited about it. All right, so the last color that I have here is purple. And I'm going to move into that now. So this purple is so dark looking in the pan, but then when I put it on the palette, it is a dark purple, but I can easily water this down and make it a lighter purple. And I'm just going to use this straight. I'm not going to mix it. And the purple is really a significant color in this project because the straps on the sandals are the purple. We have purple flowers, and the heel here, the bigger part of this flip-flop, is purple. So fun. So another thing that I'm working on are free once-a-month classes where you can come and paint with me online for free. And we can meet each other. And I'm going to be doing very simple beginner projects at those monthly classes. It's just going to be a way to get started with watercolor. So you can invite your friends, your family, your kids, your grandkids. Have them all come online. Just have some basic supplies and do a fun project. Our family used to get together on New Year's Eve and we would do a paint party. And it was just so amazing because all the way from my dad, who was like in his 80s, to our little kids, we all painted together we used the same tutorial. We used to follow the art Sherpa, and she kind of tragically passed. I think it was last year. I was really sad because she was really instrumental in getting me painting. she had pretty simple projects, most of them, and she had a ton. I mean, if you go online and just Google the Art Sherpa, you'll find her YouTube videos, which are still going strong, and she had a huge following of loyal artists, and people were just so heartbroken when she had a heart attack. She was pretty young, I think like in her 50s, and super eccentric lady who loved art, loved color, and left kind of a legacy, I think, really. So we used to use her tutorials for our family art projects, and when she was kind of just starting out, I sent a picture of us, and she posted it on her social media. So I would love to do the same. If you paint this with me, or any of my projects, post them, tag me. I would love to see what you're working on, what you enjoy doing, what you have created. And just the whole creative process is so good for people. I love to paint with my kids, my grandkids. My grandkids mainly, but my daughter-in-law is an artist. My other son's girlfriend is an amazing artist. And sometimes we paint together. So fun. Now you can see I'm just painting in the lines really, but I'm kind of adding a little bit of texture to this because I can with this purple. And you can see like these are the parts of that are underneath. So I'm going to try to make those really a little bit darker. And I can always outline it also with the black pen to give it a little more definition. I'm just using the purple straight out of the pan without adding hardly any water to it, because I want this to be a little bit darker. So you can see like I've got a little bit too much water there, so I'm just lifting it, blotting it on my paper towel. If that happens, you can easily get rid of some of the extra water by blotting. And if this is not dark enough for you, you can always go over it again. Look what I'm doing. The more layers you add, the darker it's going to get. All right. Then we have another couple little flowers. A lot of detail in this. So as I start to create more of these folk art type projects, they are probably going to have more detail, more flowers, more hearts, more lines, more squiggles. So if you don't like that, you can always just eliminate some. Just don't add them all. And I'm kind of, I don't know, sometimes, I guess it depends on the mood I'm in. Sometimes I like more, sometimes I like less. But like I said, I'm kind of trying to develop my own personal style, that most of the stuff I do is going to be in that style, but I'll probably try other things too. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever really paint things that are super realistic, because this kind of art just makes me happy. And my goal with this is not to become like this like stellar realistic artist. It's more to just have fun and develop a style that I'm happy with. All right, so this is looking like it's nearing the finish line, and what I'm going to do now, I decided the centers of these flowers, I wasn't sure if I wanted them to be yellow or orange or red, or not red, but I think I'm going to mix up like a golden color here. So it's not straight out of the yellow. And I'm just going to paint the centers of these. And then what I'm going to do is go back and add some black dots with the pen. Now when you do this, you're going to want to make sure that the paint on the flower itself is really dry, because it will run together if it's not. And I'm going to blend this a little bit. All right, so at this point, I always say just kind of take a step back, see if there's anything that you want to add to, anything you might have missed. I think I'm going to take a little bit of this turquoise blue green and maybe just add a touch of this to the leaves, because I want to add just maybe a little bit of depth to them. And let's see, I don't want it to be too watery. Test it. Yeah, this is good. This is, again, something you don't really have to do. I just kind of go with what I see. Like, these look kind of flat to me, so I want to add a little depth with a little different color. But there would be no really right or wrong way with this. Don't have to do that. All right, I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. This is just so bright and so colorful. I really love it. So I'm going to go ahead now and wait for this to completely dry, and then I'm going to add some pen detail with the black pens. So now I've moved everything out of the way here, so I have room to do this, and I have this micron pen. It's a 05. Trying to get it to focus here. A 05 black permanent micron pen. And it's important to make sure that, again, your work is really dry before you start this, and also that that your ink pen is a permanent ink so that it doesn't smear. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to kind of be selective, but I'm going to just start to trace around different elements. And this just kind of makes things pop. And it's just a really fun kind of meditative process. So, like I said, this is called watercolor sketching. And I usually don't outline every single thing, but just things that I want to really stand out and be defined. So this step is kind of optional. You really don't have to do it. You know, it's kind of up to you. So if you like the way yours looks without adding the black, totally fine. You could just leave it as is. And I usually don't, like I said, I don't outline every single thing. I might do the leaves, the flowers. Probably not going to outline these little tiny ones. Maybe add just a tad to the stems. I'm going to outline the hearts because I want those to stand out. And I'm going to leave these little tiny flowers the way they are. Definitely going to outline this outer part of the flip-flop. And this, while you're doing this, it's good to just have like a very light sketching kind of motion, not a heavy hand with this, because you want it to be kind of broken up a little bit, the lines, not really heavy. And because my paper is the watercolor paper, it is not coming out super heavy. So I'm also going to do these and because the flip-flops are really the focal point of this, I want them to stand out. And you don't really have to worry about it being perfect. If you don't outline it perfectly, that's totally fine. You want it to look handmade. Now, you might have noticed that there's also little dots like in the background. I'm not sure that I really want to add those. I might add those. I'm going to finish this now, and I'm going to take a step back and see if I want to add those dots. And definitely I'm going to add these little grass sprigs. A few dots. Okay, so I like the way that this has turned out. It's pretty, this has been, like I said, a really fun project. But I always take a step back and see, and I think that maybe a couple of dots up here would be good, because I've got a lot going on over here with the sun. So I'm going to bring this back, my colors, and I'm just going to grab like some of the darker ones and maybe even add a little more blue to this. And I might add a little dot right here and one here and one here. Okay, rinse my brush, go into the reds. Want that to be very dark also. Put one there. And here. I'm just sort of randomly putting them where I feel like it needs a little something. And maybe I will do, I think I'm going to mix a little yellow again. Some orange. Again, this is totally optional. You don't have to add these, but you know, it's something that's just a little fun, kind of like a confetti look. Okay, I think that that's about enough. So this is the thing with this kind of thing. It's easy to add too much too. Just want enough to add interest. Okay, I am done with this now. I always tell people you must sign your work. I think it's really important to sign your work so that you can keep track. If anything, you can keep track of your progress. So I'm going to sign my initials here. I just use my initials for like a mark, and I always put the date, the year. All right, thank you so much for painting with me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. And you could easily turn this into a card that you could give to someone. Probably would really brighten and make their day. And or just hang it up for yourself, or put it in your sketchbook, and you're just keep painting. So subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this. I create new tutorials every single week, and sign up for my painting class, my Creative Heart Journal. This is all free stuff that I'm offering. So go into the descriptions. You can see these links. And again, I'll put the supply links, but I don't have like affiliate links for most things. I'm kind of working on that with Amazon. I tend to get most of my art supplies off Amazon just because they have a huge selection and the prices are pretty good. So you, by all means, you go where your art supplies are in your town, even maybe Michael's or Hobby Lobby or some other art supplies. I like to also support small companies if I can. Okay, so have a great rest of your day, your night, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.